Tucked right there between the Old and New Testaments, there's this collection of writings called the Apocrypha. They're basically a set of stories that came out of one of the most chaotic periods in all of history. And they're not just some dusty old texts. Think of them more like dispatches from a culture that was fighting for its very soul. So, what are these hidden books all about? I mean, what do they really show us? Well, they do more than just fill in a historical blank spot. They're practically a masterclass in how to survive as a culture. Okay, let's dive into this. At their heart, these stories are all about the Jewish people's response to a pretty serious threat to their existence. I mean, imagine a massive global culture is pressuring you to just abandon everything you believe in. How do you survive that? Well, the Apocrypha doesn't give us just one answer. It gives us three very different ones. To really get these strategies, you first have to understand the pressure cooker they were in. See, after Alexander the Great's conquests, Greek culture, what we call Hellenism, was the dominant force. It was everywhere. So for a lot of traditional Jews, the choice was pretty stark. You either assimilate and get ahead in this new world, or you resist and try to hold on to your identity. This crisis really set the stage for an incredible, incredible struggle. So what's the first strategy? Simple. Don't let other people tell your story. The book of 1 Esdras is a perfect example of this. It shows how you can retell your own history to really double down on the values that matter most, especially when those values are being challenged. The author of 1 Esdras does something really clever. They take familiar history from books like Ezra and Nehemiah, stuff the audience would already know, but then they weave in this brand new, totally unforgettable story. It's a brilliant move, and it's all designed to put a spotlight on one specific hero and one very big idea. Okay, so here's the tale they add in. 3 of King Darius's bodyguards decide to have a little contest while he's asleep. The question is, what is the strongest force on Earth? The first bodyguard says, the king. A little flattery there. The second one, a bit smarter, says wine, because hey, wine can overpower even a king. The third bodyguard argues for women, but then he pivots to his real answer, the winning answer: truth. And this is where it all clicks into place. The third bodyguard, the winner, is revealed to be none other than Zerubbabel, a hugely important figure in Jewish history who just happens to be from the line of King David. And what does he ask for as his prize? He asks the king for permission to go and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. See what they did? By adding this story, the author puts a Davidic hero right at the center of his people's restoration. That bodyguard's final line, "Great is truth and superior to all," actually became one of the most famous mottos in all of Western civilization. It's just this powerful ending to a story that was literally designed to shape a culture's identity from the inside out. But the fight for survival wasn't just a battle of stories, it was also a battle of ideas. So our second strategy isn't about rewriting the past. It's about defining the present. And for that, we need to meet a teacher in Jerusalem named Sira, who is basically fighting a cultural war right in his own classroom. So Sira's looking around and he sees the upper crust of Jerusalem, even the families of his own students, becoming more and more Greek. Their names, their culture, their ambitions, it's all changing. He saw this as a really dangerous path, so he decided to fight back, not with swords, but with wisdom. This was the tidal wave he was up against: Hellenization. And you gotta understand, it wasn't just about learning a new language or reading some philosophy. It was a whole cultural system that offered a totally different path to success and honor, one that threatened to just completely erase the traditional Jewish way of life. So Sira lays out a very clear choice. The Greek world might be telling you that real honor comes from assimilating, joining the gymnasium, adopting this cool international culture. But Sira, he argues that true, lasting honor comes from loyalty to the covenant, from fearing the Lord, and from following the ways of your ancestors. In God's eyes, he taught, that is what makes a person truly worthy. And here is Sira's most radical, game-changing move. He declares that the ultimate personified wisdom of God, well, it's not found in Greek philosophy. He says it's found right here, in the Torah, the law of Moses. For him, to abandon the Torah was to abandon wisdom itself. It's that simple. But what happens when that battle of ideas is lost? When cultural pressure turns into outright violent persecution? Well, that ideological conflict that Sira was so afraid of, it's about to explode into a literal, physical war. And that brings us to the third and honestly, the most dramatic strategy for survival. When your identity is actually outlawed, you fight back. This is the incredible story of the Maccabees. And it all happened so incredibly fast. First, in 1750 BC, this progressive priest named Jason literally buys the high priesthood and starts Hellenizing Jerusalem. Just 3 years later, he gets outdone by another guy, Menelaus, who pushes things even further. All this internal fighting gives the foreign king, Antiochus IV, the opening he needs. He marches in, loots the temple, and then, in 168 BC, he makes Judaism illegal. The last straw comes when a village priest, Mattathias, flat out refuses an order to sacrifice to a foreign god and starts a rebellion. And we're not talking about some minor rules being broken. The absolute core practices of Jewish identity, circumcision, owning a Torah scroll, observing the Sabbath, all of it suddenly became a capital crime. The stories from this time are just brutal, full of people choosing to die rather than abandon their faith. But then, against all odds, the revolt actually worked. Led by Mattathias and his sons, this small band of rebels wages a guerrilla war. It took 3 long, brutal years of fighting, but they fought their way back into Jerusalem and took back the single most sacred site they had, the temple. And that moment, the moment they finally cleansed and rededicated that temple, is an event that is still celebrated to this day. It is the origin story of the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, a direct line from an ancient fight for survival right into our modern world. So, after going through these intense stories of history and wisdom and war, what's the big takeaway? Why do these accounts still feel so powerful today? Well, we've basically seen 3 distinct playbooks for survival, right? First, you control your own narrative, like they did in 1 Esdras. Second, you define your own wisdom and you anchor your identity in it, which is exactly what Sira did. And finally, when all else fails, you fight for your right to exist. That was the path of the Maccabees. The thing is, these aren't just 3 separate books. When you put them together, they form this incredible, dynamic guide to cultural resilience. They show how a community can use its stories, its ideas, and, yes, even force, to make sure its identity isn't just wiped off the map by some overwhelming power. And that really leaves us with a final question for today, doesn't it? The pressure of Hellenization back then, it really isn't so different from the pressure of globalization right now. These ancient strategies for survival are still being debated and used all around us. It turns out, the fight for identity is a story that never, ever gets old.